पाकिस्तान के खिलाफ बहुत सारे महाज खुले, कुछ हमने खुद खोले और काफी सारे हमारे खिलाफ खोले गए। आज के महाज वीकेंड के नाम हफ्ता है और हफ्ते पे हम रैप करते हैं। आज का रैप जो है वो वॉशिंगटन से खास तौर पे एक जबरदस्त एनालिस्ट के साथ है, क्योंकि अल्टीमेटली पाकिस्तान का जो असली दारुल हुकूमत है वो तो वॉशिंगटन ही है। तो पूरा हफ्ता जो चलता है, हम आपको कभी कराची से, कभी कोयटा से, कभी अडियाला से, कभी कोट लखपत से खबरें देते हैं और देते रहेंगे इंशाल्लाह। मगर ये वाला जो दिन है हमारा, सैटरडे को हम एक फॉरेन पॉलिसी ब्रीफिंग करते हैं, साउथ एशिया की फॉरेन पॉलिसी ब्रीफिंग। इसमें जो वॉशिंगटन का पर्सपेक्टिव है वो लेना जरूरी है। अगर आपको ये नहीं पता कि पाकिस्तान के असली दारुल हुकूमत में पाकिस्तान को और खित्ते को कैसे देखा जा रहा है, तो आप, वो कहते हैं ना, आप जमे नहीं, लाहौर लाहौर होगा, जिन्हें लाहौर नहीं वेख्या जमया नहीं, जिन्हें वॉशिंगटन नहीं सुनिया वो समझा नहीं, आई गेस। सो उस हिसाब से माय पंजाबी इज टेरिबल बट माय इंटरव्यूइंग स्किल्स आर स्लाइटली बेटर। आज की जो साउथ एशिया ब्रीफिंग है वो मेरे दोस्त माइकल कुगलमैन के साथ है। माइकल एक जबरदस्त एनालिस्ट हैं। हम कवर करते हैं इमरान खान का इशू, उससे हम खोलते हैं अपनी इनिंग और डिटेल में जाते हैं कि वॉशिंगटन में, लंदन में, मगरबी कैपिटल्स में इमरान के लिए शोर क्यों नहीं मच रहा, और दीगर जो इंटरनेशनल ऑपोजिशन लीडर्स हैं, जर्नलिस्ट हैं, उनके लिए मचता है, इमरान के लिए क्यों नहीं मच रहा। इसमें हम डीप डाइव करते हैं। फिर हम जाते हैं कि गजा में फाइनली पाकिस्तान ने अनाउंस कर दिया है कि हमारे सिपाही, हमारे जवान, हमारे अफसर जा रहे हैं। जी, पाकिस्तान ने ऑफिशियली अनाउंस कर दिया है कि पाकिस्तान की फौज गजा जा रही है। अब उधर वो क्या करेंगे या क्या नहीं करेंगे, क्या कॉम्प्लिकेशंस होंगी, क्या इजराइल को हम तस्लीम करेंगे, क्या इजरायली फौज के साथ हम कोऑर्डिनेट करेंगे, जी ये भी हम बात करते हैं। और फिर अफगानिस्तान पे तो फायर खोल दिया है फौज ने, नॉट जस्ट ठक ठक वाला फायर बट एक्चुअली डिप्लोमेटिकली कह दिया है। पहली बार जो हिंदुस्तानी पाकिस्तान के बारे में कहते थे और जो अमरीकी पाकिस्तान के बारे में कहते थे कि ये दहशत गर्दों को अलाउ करते हैं, कवर देते हैं और हम पे फायरिंग करते हैं और बॉर्डर को हॉट रखते हैं। तो ये जो टेबल्स टर्न हुई हैं, ये सब और बहुत कुछ आज की फॉरेन पॉलिसी ब्रीफिंग में है। अंग्रेजी में है, अगर मेरी तरह आपकी अंग्रेजी कमजोर है, कोई बात नहीं, आहिस्ता आहिस्ता करके सुने। कोशिश करेंगे कि आप एंजॉय करें शो, शेयर, लाइक, सब्सक्राइब, कमेंट करें। और अब चलते हैं वॉशिंगटन डीसी की तरफ। अपना ख्याल रखें। पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद। Okay, so it's that time of the week when we pivot to Washington, D.C. for the one and only Michael Kugelman, our resident South Asia Wawala, for the foreign policy briefing. Now, it's the holiday season here, and Mike and I have resolved to start things with a bit of a bang. And I last week, Mike didn't really like my holiday jingle, so I've changed things up for him. So here we go. So, Mike, welcome to the show. How are you liking this tune?
I'm trying to get a better sense of it. I like it. Yeah, it's mysterious. Doesn't seem very holiday focused.
It's not. It's supposed to be badass, which is that's the name of the title, and that is the sort of mood I'm in today. And I'll tell you why. It is the game today. Michigan is playing Ohio State. The greatest rivalry in college football predates partition. It's the India-Pakistan of college football. And as you know, Michigan is the most winningest team in college football history. So I'm excited, and we are late because I need to be at the game soon.
Yes, I don't want to keep you from your tailgating. Very exciting. So who is Tom Brady? I mean, given your Pakistan-India comparison, who is Tom Brady in terms of
You know what, Mike? That's a loaded question.
Yeah,
and I know where you're going with this. Tom Brady has to be Imran Khan. You know it. There's no doubt. Tom Brady, by the way, and I were at Michigan at the same time.
You were.
He is considered the GOAT, the greatest ever. And we used to do laundry together, believe it or not. So, but I like how you pivoted very, very surreptitiously straight into Imran Khan. So I'm going to start off this week's briefing with Imran. Imran's been missing for weeks, missing as in not allowed access to his family, his party, his leaders. Now, the heat's picking up locally. We've covered that. We covered that extensively. But I want your perspective from Washington. And I want to frame your perspective in a broader construct about how Washington and other global capitals have supported opposition figures in other countries. They've supported Alexei Navalny, who died in prison in 2024, the Russian face of democracy in that country. They've supported Vladimir Kara-Murza, who has been jailed for treason since 2023. They have supported Myanmar's, of course, famously, Aung San Suu Kyi, who has been on and off under house arrest for 15 years. They've supported Hong Kong's Joshua Wong and other pro-democracy activists, even Belarus's Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya, I hope I said that right, who is the legitimate leader in exile of that country. Now, the common thread why these figures get global support, from what I understand, is that they are anti-authoritarian, they're seen as liberal, democratic, and pro-Western people, and the Western media loves them. Western governments, Western capitals love them. But Imran is not getting the same sort of global support. We've got nothing from Washington, nothing from London, almost nothing from Europe, though we have one news from Europe about the Finns shutting down their embassy in Pakistan. We'll come to that in a bit. But Mike, the question really is, it's simple. Why is Imran not getting the support from Western capitals? Is it because Pakistan is not Russia and not China and not Belarus and not Myanmar? Is it because Imran is not a simple Western liberal dissident hero? Is it because Western governments need Pakistan's military and not its democracy? Or is it because, well, frankly, Pakistan's media blackout doesn't really let the story get out much, even though it is becoming an international story? A lot of Reuters had it earlier this week. A lot of people are picking it up on this side of the globe. So what's your take? Why isn't there more outcry in Western capitals about Imran? What's the problem there?
Yeah, I think that your assessment was spot on, that he is not viewed in the same category as those other dissidents that you mentioned, Navalny and others. He is someone that has taken a very critical view of the policies of the West in the United States. He's probably one of the most strident critics of the U.S. and the West over the years. I'm not saying he's anti-West or anti-U.S., but he's been very critical of policies. If one looks at some of the things he'd said, even in more recent years, particularly when he appeared to celebrate the Taliban's return in Afghanistan, that's not going to go down well in Western capitals. I'm not saying that no one really cares about him. I think that's not the case at all in Western capitals, particularly if you look at media outlets and human rights activists, civil society on the whole. But when it comes to policymakers in Washington, yeah, I just don't think that he's seen in the same category as a Navalny. And one comparison that one could make between, for Khan, is someone like Mandela, right? Remember Mandela? He was very critical of the U.S. and the West, and he wasn't necessarily getting strong support from democracy advocates in the West, not as much as one might have thought, because he took a very critical position. I'm not saying that Imran Khan is a Nelson Mandela-like figure, but I do think that context might be useful as we look at how the world has and has not responded to what's going on with Khan now.
So if I were to list down as someone, if we were to war game this, we're in the Oval Office or the State Department, and I am Rubio, and I ask my South Asia desk guy, I'm like, tell me more about this guy. Is it possible that the briefing that American leaders would get is that Imran is too populist, too unpredictable, too anti-American at times, too close to this nationalist, populist rhetoric, too critical of American wars in the past, and too messy in that Western policy framework? So no, Secretary of State, we don't really need to back him up because we need the Pakistani military more than we need Imran Khan. Is that the basis of this reasoning? Is that what it is broadly?
Yeah, well, I mean, it could be a variety of factors. I do think that if you're talking specifically about the Trump administration, it's not really in the business of making a lot of noise about political opposition members that are wrongly imprisoned. This is not how the Trump administration does foreign policy. I think that's quite clear. Um, I think it really comes down to a situation where this administration is just focused on other matters, and it's not going to be particularly inclined to pay a lot of attention to someone that is not doesn't strike people in Washington and is someone that's worth making a lot of noise for. Now, I mean, if you talk about an assessment, certainly some would say, well, remember when Trump met Khan, when he hosted him in
There you go.
Washington, and
Yep.
they cooperated at times, but I don't think that's enough, right? I mean, that was a very transactional process by President Trump. He wanted to work with Khan, knowing that Khan could help him in efforts to get the Taliban to the negotiating table to help move toward a deal that would allow for a smooth U.S. exit from Afghanistan. So I don't think that would be enough to captivate the attention of policymakers in D.C. now.
Unless his incarceration triggers widespread unrest and instability, which starts shaking things up in Pakistan. That's the unless, right? That's the only way they'll get his attention. That means people start mobilizing. I don't know. As they say, that's when, if the fit hits the shan, that's when people start taking notice. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, from the context of from the perspective of U.S. interest, you're right. I mean, if you start to see instability risks, particularly as they might impact U.S. interests in Pakistan, given the American presence in Pakistan, the diplomatic presence, and those American businesses that are in Pakistan, yes, then certainly it would get more attention. But I think that's sort of another side to this story, that what's happening in Pakistan now with Khan and the concerns about him and his well-being, could that actually lead to a situation where you have mass mobilizations? And I just don't think that we're going to see that, given the current state of play there, given the levels of
Yeah.
repression and so on.
Yeah, I also think it's fascinating that just a year ago we had Rick Grinnell and so many others really tweeting for Khan's release, and that momentum seems to have died down. Anyways, let's pivot. Mike. Let's go to our next one. Big announcement today from the Pakistani Deputy Prime Minister / Foreign Minister. Ishaq Dar is in the news now. He's been clear about this today. Finally, we hear it from the Foreign Ministry itself, that Pakistan is ready to join the Gaza peace force, not ready to disarm Palestinian resistant groups like Hamas. This is the exact headline from the Dawn. Now, quickly, the Pakistanis are saying, this is what we will do, this is what we won't do. We are there for peacekeeping, not for peace enforcement. Now, that's a thin red line in a kinetic environment, in a dynamic environment like an occupied territory, which is Gaza. Israeli troops on the outside, Pakistani forces and other forces within the parameter, language problems, deployment, the threat of civil unrest, threat of terrorist activities. This is very dynamic. It's a risk. What are the Pakistanis saying? What's their strategy right now? What do you think it should be?
Yeah, I think this goes back to our discussion about this issue last week or recently, that it's been very clear for quite some time that Pakistan wants to be a part of this mission, whether in order to continue to be in the good graces of the Trump administration, or to signify its influence in the Middle East, or whatever the case might be. But there has been this level of discomfort about what that could entail for Pakistan in terms of the rules of engagement for troops that might be in Gaza. And my understanding is that the UN resolution that essentially authorized this mission said that Hamas will be de-weaponized, and so that suggests that logically it would be this stabilization mission that would be involved in that in some way. I could completely understand why Pakistan would not want to have any role in that, especially if there's resistance from Hamas. But I think that now that Pakistan has committed, and now that it's said on the record publicly that it wants to be a part of this force, it could be very difficult to sort of back away, given that it's put itself out there, if it's simply not comfortable with what the terms of engagement would be. We'll see. I imagine that other countries that would have troops in this mission would have the same concerns that Pakistan does. But I guess it suggests that we can't necessarily conclude at this point that it's a done deal for the Pakistanis, and maybe by going public with their concerns, they're hoping that puts pressure. I don't know, but I go back to what I said before. No matter what, no matter what the terms of engagement are, if Pakistan is a part of this mission, it's going to be a pretty significant deal, just because it would entail engaging with Israel. You cannot go into Gaza without working with Israeli authorities. So this would be, I think, a a change in policy right there, right? And it sort of brings up questions as to what the end game would be for Pakistan. What's next if it starts to engage with Israel, even if on modest levels, to coordinate its presence in Gaza?
So how does that work? I mean, how do you not go into Gaza and not disarm Hamas? And how do you not go into Gaza and not deal with the Israelis? How does that work diplomatically? How does that work kinetically?
Yeah, well, that's the point. That can't happen. I mean, there's going to have to be Pakistan would need to be doing those things, and that's why, as we discussed before, this is a significant risk. I think there's some political risks that's involved here. I even think that there could be some stability risks for Pakistan, given those that might be very unhappy about this type of arrangement and what that can entail in terms of mobilizations, particularly from hardline religious forces. So yeah, it's very risky. And as I said before, the more Pakistan does things like this, the more it even signals that it wants to be involved in efforts like this that involve, to an extent, working with Israel. The pressure will build for Pakistan to join the Abraham Accords, assuming the Saudis want to do it as well. And that would really be a big a big step for Pakistan. I'm not saying that it would want to get to that point, but there'll be more and more pressure from to join, and the Trump administration, as I said before, feels that Pakistan is ready to do anything to help President Trump, because we've seen so much positivity and flattery toward Trump from Pakistani officials.
I'm not convinced that the Pakistanis are being clear or honest. I know the story I cited earlier is saying that this is still fluid. The Pakistanis have taken a step forward and two steps back at the UN. They've said, yes, great resolution. But everything the Pakistanis say has a lot of ifs and buts. And I don't know if there's going to be, that's okay in parlance. That's okay at the UN. You can be blurry, but I don't think on the ground there's going to be enough space. And if Pakistani troops start engaging Hamas or any other, there's a bunch of groups out there besides Hamas. If Pakistani troops start engaging Hamas, I personally worry about the safety of Pakistan's troops as well as the stability internally in Pakistan. I'm more intrigued, though, and we don't have time for this, but about what Pakistan's going to get back for this. Besides, of course, epithets like the favorite field marshal. Besides that, what are the Pakistani, especially the military, going to get? Speaking of, here he is, the DGISPR, Director General Inter-Services Public Relations, the official spokesman of the army, has officially said something no military official has said so clearly in the past, in the recent past at least, that the Afghans are actually, the Afghan Taliban are engaging in direct fire to facilitate infiltration of terrorists into Pakistan. You know who used to say stuff like this? America used to say, and NATO used to say stuff like this back in 2010, 2011, at the height of the Salala incident, when the do more regime was underway under Hillary Clinton and Obama. So it sounds like full circle, the Pakistanis are asking the Afghans to do more when a decade and a half ago, the Americans and the Afghan government then were asking the Pakistanis to do more. What do you think is going on with the latest, especially considering the foreign minister has just said that Pakistan almost went into all-out kinetic action against the Afghans and was only stopped by its friends in Qatar?
Yeah, and to add to your point, Pakistan has also been accused of doing this in the line of control. India's accused Pakistan of doing this when it comes to sending militants into Kashmir. So yeah, it's all very ironic.
That's a familiar one too. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I saw Dar's comment about Qatar convincing Pakistan not to do a kinetic action, but one thing I'm not clear about, is that referring to something very recent, or was that a planned kinetic action before the talks sponsored by Qatar and Turkey began? That I think is something that needs to be clarified. But look, my view has been that Pakistan has run out of options with the TTP conundrum. To me, and I was in Pakistan a few weeks ago, and conversations I had there really convinced me of this, that no one really seems to think that Pakistan has a choice other than some type of kinetic action, because the talks with the Taliban aren't working. The Taliban has been unwilling to essentially commit to addressing the TTP issue. Pakistan previously has held talks with the TTP directly. Those didn't work. So my sense all along has been that there will be something, but the fact that Dar is now saying that Qatar prevented or convinced Pakistan to hold back, That's interesting and quite frankly surprising, but more so if this was more recent.
Right. Quickly, Mike, I am going to pivot close to home, literally to Islamabad, a city I miss. And this is a story coming out of Islamabad. This is important to note because we haven't seen this, but it's starting. Finland has decided to close its embassy in Islamabad, but also decided to close its embassy in Kabul and its missions in Kabul and Yangon, which is the capital of Myanmar. So yeah, the Pakistanis are now in great company. Islamabad, Kabul, and Yangon. Tell me more. That's a great little club to be in. And the Finns, by the way, such nice people. Like the nicest people in that part of Scandinavia. What do you think is going on here? What's next? I mean, this is coming at the coattails of reports about human rights violations, reports about increased corruption, reports about inherent instability on the horizon, unemployment. There's a lot of bad news coming out of Pakistan. International reports are indicating that, but this is different.
Is it though? I mean, yeah, I agree. The Finns are great, and I don't want to come across as shafting the Finns here. But I mean, is this really that important at the end of the day for Pakistan? Do we know? Has Finland's government given a reason why it's decided to do this? I mean, is it security concerns?
Operational and strategic reasons.
Yeah, I mean that could just be
related to. This is the best part.
Okay.
Related to changes in the country. Now, this is important. Changes in the country. This is really interesting.
Changes in what country? In the countries that they're pulling out of?
Correct.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could be anything. I mean, to me, do we think that Finland's government would basically react by pulling out of Pakistan because it's unhappy with the extent of repression and what the military is up to? I don't see that happening. I confess I'm not an expert on Finnish foreign policy, so I don't want to engage in Kugelmansplaining here when I don't really know the reasons for this.
Okay,
but you're right. If the fact that it's been glommed together with Myanmar and Afghanistan, that's not a good look. It's not a good optic for Pakistan. But my view is that we shouldn't read too much into this. If it was only Pakistan that it was doing this in, then maybe I'd be a bit more concerned.
There you go. But still, I am still concerned because that's not a nice club to be in. Myanmar, Afghanistan, and Pakistan should not be clubbed together for any reason unless it's for good food. And I love a good cow sway. In fact, I'm going to the sports bar. There's a cow sway Burmese place right next to it. I might do lunch there. But last question, Mike, critically. This guy. I need some Kugelmansplaining for this one. This guy. The Indian External Affairs Minister. I don't know why they call it the External Affairs Ministry, not just the Foreign Ministry like everybody else. Anyways, the EAM has said something about China playing by its own rules. Can we please listen in? We're going to do a drum roll first. Is that okay? Can I do a drum roll?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I love drum rolls.
Okay, we're going to try to do a drum roll, and here is the drum roll. Actually, that was not the drum roll. But here he is.
Yes.
Here he is. Yeah, I failed that one.
In terms of engagement. Not just that. It is doing so by dealing with countries on a one-on-one basis rather than through regimes. China has long played by its own rules and is now doing so even more. In the ensuing scenario, other nations are unclear on whether their attention should be on the visible competition or the trade-offs and understandings that punctuate them.
So this is interesting and a little rich. China is playing by its own rules. And by the way, I think this is what I was trying to play.
I like that. It's sort of like a South Asian. Well, I don't want to. Never mind. Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, so I think this is a little rich coming from the Indian foreign minister. Playing by your own rules, and other countries should be wary whether they want to trade with them or deal with them on the trade-offs. Come on, this sounds familiar. This sounds like India right now. The Indians are knocking off people in Canada. The Indian agents are being subpoenaed right here in New York City for transnational repression and putting hits out on dissidents. Come on, this is a little rich about and India buying weapons from the Russians, buying oil from the Russians. Isn't that a little rich coming from the EAM?
Yeah, I think what's at play here is that there's been this this very modest détente going on between India and China for almost a year, but I think that many in India don't want people to think that this suggests that India is about to like reconcile with China. It still has a lot of issues with China, and so I've been hearing some notable tough talk and critical rhetoric from Indian officials lately about China. I think it's an effort to push back, and also, as you know, there was a serious incident between India and China recently where there was an Indian citizen, a woman based in the UK, who was detained in Shanghai for many hours, and she was accused. She was from Arunachal Pradesh originally, which of course is a disputed region, and this got India very upset for good reason. And so I don't know when Jaishankar made that comment. I assume it was just the last few days. It might be tied to that as well, to a degree. But yeah, no, this is not the first time that we've heard Indian officials say things like this. And we talk about Indian exceptionalism, Indian strategic autonomy, all that. At the end of the day, there are things that India might. But bottom line is, I'm not being very articulate. What I mean is that this is not the first time, I think, that we've heard a comment like this from an Indian official that could come across as being hypocritical at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's hypocritical. It's a little rich, but I'm just confused about the timing, because I thought they were like sort of going to China now and being friends with China and playing footsie with China. In fact, the EAM was in China, as was Modi, just a month or two ago. But I am a little confused about why the pushback has started again after that little pivot there a few weeks ago. But Mike, we have to wrap up. It's been a great foreign policy briefing. I know you didn't write your foreign policy South Asia briefing this week because it was Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. I must ask, how was it celebrated in the Kugelman household? How many turkeys were zibbad by you?
Well, we're pretty minimalist. We just had one sole turkey, along with many accoutrements and accompaniments that were delectable, delightful. Had the turkey coma Thursday night, but that's par for the course. Thank you. I'm very thankful for many things this year, including the fact that we are now doing this regularly. There's some flattery for you, but it's also heartfelt. And I hope that you also had a good Thanksgiving, and I hope that you have a positive outcome in the game today. When you said that I thought Tom Brady was a reference that could be likened to Imran Khan, I actually thought he could be compared to someone else in the Pakistan context. But I'll leave things at that. And
Ooh, that's loaded. Come on, Mike, you can't leave me at that. But I will take this offline, because Brady and Khan are both topics close to my heart and very sensitive. I'm thankful as well for having you come back on and having this wonderful show with you every week. But also, I'm thankful about the fact that I am in a country where I can be free to say and free to think and free to write and free to express what I really feel about back home. I miss Pakistan, but I'm thankful I'm in these great United States and able to make a little bit of a dent in any way I can to improve things and shed more light on that country and the region. Thanks, Mike. Happy Thanksgiving. See you next week.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right. That was Mike Kugelman, all the way from Washington. The foreign policy briefing, which Mike writes, is published weekly. We do a show every Saturday. We catch up. We are, as you know, we've been in touch now for years. Mike and I started talking to each other and working together back in 2010, 2011, when he was, I think, at the Wilson Center then, or maybe another think tank. And I was at Harvard at the Kennedy School of Government. But anyways, long story short, Mike didn't go to a football school. I should have told you that. Mike went to the American University. But anywho, great school, no football. More on football, which, by the way, in America is played with its hands, as you know. Great concept. I will talk to you soon. Share, like, subscribe, comment, support independent journalism, and I will talk to you very soon. Pakistan, Zindabad.